lose the DH by moving Campbell over. Chris Young gets a start against the left-hander. Otherwise, the same unit going for the Mets tonight against the rookie left-hander Roenis Elias.
You know, when you look at his stats for the season, they're really shaded by his last couple of starts. He's given up 12 runs in his last 8 1/3. So that all-star break came at the right time for the young Cuban. And here's the Coors Light Mariner defense. Ackley, James Jones in center field. Stefan Romero, Kyle Seager, Bloomquist, Cano, and Smoke in the infield with the talented young Mike Zunino doing catching.
Curtis Granderson will lead things off for New York. Mets making their second visit to Safeco Field. They played here for 3 games back in 2005. They're still looking for their first victory at Safeco Field. Granderson at 238 for the year, and Elias with the first pitch of the night, a fastball inside, and we're underway. Granderson, Murphy, and Wright for the Mets, who scored just 1 run in the last 2 games in San Diego after winning the first game of that series 5-4. And Elias gets the fastball in for a strike, 1-1. Roenis Elias has been with the Mariners since day 1 this year. He was a big surprise in spring training. He was not expected to make the ball club, but won a starting job, now making his 20th start. And Granderson went around on the breaking ball, 1-2.
Good late breaking slider there from Elias.
Murphy on deck, Wright to follow. Elias with the 1-2 to Granderson, and he bends it outside, 2-2. The last 3 starts for Elias have not been good. 0-3, 10.05, lasted just 3 1/3 in his last start 12 days ago. Hoping the rest will get him righted. But he throws a fastball by Granderson at 93, and that's the first out of the night.
Well, 93 miles an hour, lefty-lefty matchup, and we've always talked about anything up in the strike zone is the Achilles heel for Curtis Granderson.
You'd have to say, just off the bat, after watching the slants of Odrisamer Despaigne yesterday afternoon, that Elias is something of a more conventional pitcher than what we saw yesterday. Daniel Murphy fouls back the fastball.
Well, I know the Mets didn't enjoy it, of course. No hit for 7 innings, but or 7 2/3, right? Murphy finally got the hit, but it was interesting to watch him throw. I don't think the Mets have seen anyone like him in quite some time.
What Despaigne and Elias have in common is that neither one was considered a huge get coming out of Cuba. Whereas Despaigne signed out of a showcase where 20 teams watched, and he got $1 million bonus. Elias was even less regarded. Nobody knew who he was, and had to go to a tryout camp to impress the Mariners when he defected to Mexico. Breaking ball outside to Murphy, 1-2.
Elias from Guantanamo, 3rd Cuban pitcher to wear a Mariners uniform. Tony Fossis, the left-hander who had been a teammate of mine, and the first person to ever throw a pitch for the Seattle Mariners, Diego Segui.
1-2 to Murph, and he fouls off the fastball. Elias is 25 years old. He played 3 years in the Cuban National League, the Serie Nacional, and really had not developed any kind of a reputation when, in what he said was a spur-of-the-moment decision, he decided to get on a boat and defect. That was late in 2010. And he's worked his way up through the Mariners minor league system. Murphy strokes one out to left. On comes Dustin Ackley, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Murphy takes a turn and holds it first with a pop fly single. So the Mets have the first base runner of the night.
You know, it's something you're going to see in this ballpark. It's such a big ballpark that a lot of these kinds of hits fall in. Ackley, who's pretty good with the arm, does not cover a lot of ground, not very fast in left field.
Ackley is a second baseman, moved to the outfield. He's a good defensive player, but as you say, not a whole lot of speed. So 1 out and 1 on, and here is the anniversary boy, David Wright. It was 10 years ago today at Shea Stadium that David made his first major league appearance, batting 7th against the Montreal Expos. It's hard to believe, really.
Right. I mean, it goes so quickly. I mean, that's the one thing I took from that Derek Jeter speech at All-Star game is, even for a guy that's played 20 years like Derek, he said it just goes so quickly. Don't, try to savor every moment.
David fouls off the fastball. Well, last night David's teammates took him out to dinner, an impromptu celebration of his 10-year anniversary. There's the lineup that day. Ty Wigginton was the guy displaced by Wright. He had been the Mets' third baseman. He moved over to first and then was traded a short time later.
Oh.
Nothing, a 2 to Wright.
Yeah, I saw all the players down in the lobby last night. That's pretty cool. A bonding moment to take their captain out.
Usually it's the other way around. Usually it's David organizing the team function.
Who knows? He still might have had to pay. You never know.
I really hope they didn't stick him with a check. Even if he wanted to, his teammates wouldn't let him. There's the 0-2. And it's on the inside corner. Elias strikes out Wright, who certainly does not agree with Doug Eddings. 2 out.
That's 2 fastballs for the strikeouts for Elias. The one up to Granderson, and here, does he paint him inside? David thought the ball was in and down. See Zunino, he is known. We've talked about Travis d'Arnaud. He is known around baseball, one of the best young framers of pitches that there is. This ball seems to come below the knees of, but watch that glove just snap it right to the knees.
So 2 out Murphy at first, and Eric Campbell getting his first appearance since the All-Star break. He didn't get a single turn at bat in San Diego. Campbell's riding a 10-game hitting streak, and right now Terry Collins looking for any spot he can to get Eric into the lineup, and the spots tonight against the lefty.
Well, when you're fighting for playing time, you have every excuse if you're Eric to be a little rusty coming into the at-bat. But when you're a young player fighting for time, you don't have any excuses of being rusty. You got to be ready to go.
The first thought was that Terry was going to play him at first base tonight. You look at John Neese getting ready for his start. But Campbell is of such value because the Mets don't have any backup infielders that he had to put him in the field and not a DH, otherwise risk losing the DH if something happened.
See the catcher Zunino going out there. Let me ask you a question. We watch Eric Campbell play. How can Robinson Cano be playing up the middle with Eric Campbell hitting? I mean, the charts alone in my head, not the ones that come on the computer. He hits the ball to right field all the time.
Well, maybe it has to do with the way Elias is going to pitch him, because they also have Seager playing right on the line at third base. So they're really playing him like a pull hitter, which means to me that they're going to pitch him inside. And he rolls over one to Bloomquist, the shortstop, and the force play retires the side. Elias turns the Mets aside in the first inning. John Neese takes the mound when we come back to Seattle. left-hand hitters in the lineup against John Neese. He doesn't see that too often. With Robinson Cano and Kyle Seager right in the middle of it for the Mariners.
You know, I always find it, you know, when Jonathan faces those total right-handed lineups, that it's a little easier for him. This is Caesar's numbers on this season. Great ERA.
The veteran Wooly Bloomquist getting the start against the lefty. Takes a strike. A little bit of a sun issue right now. They've got the retractable roof here, which is open tonight, and the sun is right in the face of the hitter just for a moment. There's also some streaks of sunlight out in right field.
I have to say, though, I've heard a lot of great things about this ballpark.
Bloomquist, it's a rocket into left field. Chris Young over neatly to cut it off, and he'll hold him to a single.
All true. I mean, just a beautiful place. And good hitting. Beautiful hitting by Bloomquist. A little cutter inside and down. Quick bat from Wooly Bloomquist.
So that's how John Neese is greeted back from his stint on the disabled list. And now the Brooklyn native James Jones. Jones, born, raised, and educated in Brooklyn. Went to Telecommunications High School in Bay Ridge and then on to LIU Brooklyn.
Got to watch for the bunt here.
Jones has been a huge surprise for the Mariners this year, hitting .284.
See, the outfield shifted to play him the other way. That's correct. And straight up and double play depth for the infield defense.
How about James Jones going with 99 and the old stirrups? That's quite a combination.
That's right.
But he's a big kid. He was a pitcher in high school and college, threw 95 miles an hour. They think he's going to hit for some power eventually. He's certainly got the size to do that. And he has emerged as a rookie this year very quickly, quicker than they thought. But Neese gets him on 3 pitches, and Jones is done for the first out.
Lexus Mets defense behind Jonathan this evening. In the outfield, Chris Young in left field, Lagares and Granderson center and right, David Wright, Tejada, Murphy, and Campbell, as you said earlier, Gary, at first base due to DHing, and Travis d'Arnaud behind the plate.
So here's Robinson Cano. Signed that 10-year, $240 million contract for which the Mariners were, I mean, chastised up, down, and sideways. And you don't know how it's going to work out over the course of the deal, but there's no question that Cano has been a huge boon for a Seattle team that otherwise has been pretty bereft offensively.
Well, he's one of the best hitters of his generation. That's how good he is. He hits over 300 against left-handed pitching.
He's ahead of him 0-2.
He's got, to me, Gary, probably one of the prettiest swings in baseball. He's just, casual's the wrong word, but he's just so patient up there. And one of the quickest bats in all of baseball.
Second in the American League at .335. His power numbers are down. He averaged well over 20 home runs a season in his 9 years with the Yankees, but just 7 home runs this year. There goes Bloomquist. Cano strikes out. d'Arnaud's throw hits the runner, and Bloomquist will stay at second base. So back-to-back strikeouts for Neese, but Bloomquist has his first stolen base of the year.
Well, this is a problem for d'Arnaud. His hitting has come on. His framing of the baseball is great. Blocking of it has been fantastic, but his throwing, especially the last month, has not been very good at all. Into the runner, no play for Tejada.
Right off the middle of the 8. Well, it's funny that you say that, because one of the 2 most important things for a catcher at the basics, right? Throwing and catching, and those are the 2 things that he's had problems with. Had his 9th pass ball of the season yesterday and struggling with the arm. But at the same time, he's given the Mets so much in those other areas.
Right.
Kyle Seager, the batter. First time All-Star this year. Seager, former college teammate of Matt Harvey's in North Carolina.
Who wasn't? I mean, there's every team we go through.
Well, they've got 2 in the lineup. Yeah. Dustin Ackley also was a teammate of Harvey's at UNC. Stephan Romero on deck. 1-1 to Seager. And Neese working very quickly, gets ahead 1-2. It's almost like John was anxious to get back out there after 17 days away.
I mean, the adrenaline is really rushing. It doesn't matter how many times you've got in, and when you're coming off missing a few starts, you're excited to be out there.
Lasted just a third of an inning the last time out before Alex Rios hit a line drive that hit him in the rib. And then after he was pulled from the game quite reluctantly on John's part, the Mets found that he had some soreness in his shoulder and shut him down.
Well, it really is something they had been talking about for some time before he got hit, because his numbers were going down as far as the velocity.
One-two to Seager, and he just missed.
I mean, this was just a bullet off Jonathan. Was able to make the play.
He was stung, but he certainly wanted to stay in the game, but they wouldn't even let him throw a warm-up pitch because they were concerned that he might have a broken rib. That's up the middle, a base hit for Seager. Bloomquist will come around to score, and the Mariners have the early lead. 65th run batted in for Kyle Seager, and it's 1-0 Seattle.
Well, this pitch catches too much of the plate. It's supposed to be a fastball away. Similar pitch to what he threw to James Jones, but not in a good spot. Murph with the dive comes up empty.
Well, Neese, I think, believed that he might have struck out Seager on the previous pitch. Didn't get the call. Here's that pitch. Probably not.
No, that's a ball.
Stephan Romero, the batter. Romero getting the start against the left-hander. Hitting just 191. He's been up and down. Just came back up from the minors after the All-Star break. Romero, rookie out of Oregon State. The Seattle team is 12th in the American League in runs scored. But Cano and Seager have been big run producers in the middle of that lineup. 57 RBIs for Cano and now 65 for Seager.
Mets #1 pick, Michael Conforto, is from Oregon State, right?
Just started his pro career the other night for Brooklyn. And he is from this part of the country, too. He grew up in Seattle, just outside. Seager at first and 2 down. And it's slash foul by Romero. The irony in this inning, of course, is that John Neese generally gives up no stolen bases. Almost impossible to run on. The steal for Bloomquist was only the second that John has allowed this season. But the poor throw by d'Arnaud made it possible, and the Mariners have turned that into a run.
John's pitches are up so far in the strike zone. That is a direct result of not pitching in a while and that adrenaline racing, and you're maybe throwing a little harder than you usually are, and that ends up with the ball up in the strike zone. I think what you do as a pitcher, because you can't shut down that adrenaline, just natural, is that your aim point, when you're real fresh, you have to take a little lower aim. Maybe at the shin guards of d'Arnaud instead of the glove.
You know, for some pitchers that might result in bouncing a few, throwing wild pitches, but John never does.
No,
never throws wild pitches.
He's a strike machine.
Seager at first and 2 down. Bounced on the left side. Wright cuts it off. He'll go to first with a close play. Beat it out. Trying for third now is Seager, and he's tagged out by Tejada to end the inning. Strong throw by Campbell back across the diamond, and Seager thrown out at third base. That's a bad base running play, and the Mets get through the inning. Lucas Duda leading off the second inning for New York with the Mets down 1-0. Duda getting the start against the left-hander tonight and DHing, hitting 176 against lefties this year. And Elias with the changeup gets ahead 1-2. Duda was left in to face the lefty Alex Torres late in the game yesterday and had a nice looking base hit. Big shift on against him. And he tries to hold up, but he went around. That's 2 check swings in that at bat that Duda was called on. And Lucas, who normally doesn't say boo, fusses with Doug Eddings about it.
And one he could have been called on the first pitch, but Eddings and home plate umpires now are calling this on their own a lot more than they used to when they used to check with the third base umpire.
That pace of game rolls.
I missed the memo, but it might have
half a second. 1 out and nobody on. There's Travis d'Arnaud. Travis takes a strike. d'Arnaud took an 0 for yesterday. Well, most people did, but he has been hot since returning from the minors. 19 games, hitting at .297. Flies this one out to center. Jones coming on, and he won't get there. It drops in for a hit. That ball was up there for a pretty long time. But Travis d'Arnaud has himself a bloop single.
I've seen so many hits at this ballpark when you're watching the highlights or whatever that fall in front of the outfielders who play very deep for this Mariners team.
Well, now the dimensions are not incredibly big. I mean, I know this is not a great home run hitter's ballpark, but it's only 401 to center. It's 376 to one gap, 380 to the other. It's not as big, say, as Turner Field.
Yeah, that's right. They just don't have tons of speed at the corners. Jones has a lot of speed, but they play very deep.
Well, the Mets have a 1-out base runner for Chris Young.
There's a defense now. You see the outfield deep, double play depth for the infield, and Chris Young on that magic number. So big game for him here, or non-magic number. How about that?
Hitting 200 for the year, and he'll be under that now as he pops one up for Smoke, the first baseman, and into fair territory to grab it for the second out. So two-way now Juan Lagares sitting 8th in the order. Lagares went 2 for 11 in the series in San Diego.
You were telling me before the game his average against left-handed pitching has been outstanding.
I was kind of shocked when I looked at it today because the Mets haven't faced a lot of lefties, but he's hitting 380 against left-hand pitching this year. Now, it's not a big sample. This is only the 21st time the Mets have faced a lefty starter in 99 games. But he and David Wright have been the 2 big bats against lefties this year. The sunshine has moved into John Neese's eyes. It's almost like a natural spotlight. There you see the splits on Lagares. Only 50 at bats. Of course, Juan has had 2 stints on the disabled list this year that's held down his at bats. Elias behind in the count for the first time. He's been ahead of everybody to date, but now 2-0 to Lagares. And he swings and flies one out to right. Should be easy for Romero. And that retires the side. Base hit and 1 left. We go to the bottom of the second in Seattle with the Mariners up 1-0. in Seattle. Temperature in the upper 60s. Justin Smoke leads off for the Mariners as we go to the home second. Smoke, a switch hitter. And he takes up and away from Neese for ball 1. Smoke's been a month on the disabled list with a quad injury. Got back about 10 days ago. Smoke was a #1 pick for the Rangers.
Yes.
And came to the Mariners when the Rangers traded for Cliff Lee.
That's right. He was the bona fide guy that the trade was made for.
And he's never really hit.
Switch hitting, first baseman, supposed to have a lot of power. They say that he suffers here what some of the hitters have suffered in Citi Field. That seeing a lot of fly balls end up being F9s.
Neese with a nice grab. And a low throw, but Campbell able to grab it. Well, balls hit to Met pitchers the last few innings have been true adventures.
There's some PFP needed for the pitchers. We saw Vic Black not make a play. Edgin cost the Mets a game yesterday with his play, but nicely done by Jonathan. What you have to do always, though, crow hop and step. That helps that throw. You
know, I was thinking about the game losing play yesterday when Edgin stumbled and rolled over. Remember after the fact that Josh was a high school wrestling champion, and it looked like he mastered the takedown but couldn't handle the reversal.
No, yeah, he got the pin, of course, on that ball. Do you think you were there, Gary? Do you think Murph had a play on that ball?
No, absolutely not.
All right.
Rolls it much too slowly for Murphy to have a chance as deep as he plays.
Oh yeah, you're right. Boy. That's just.
I mean, it's one of those cases where you get a left-hand pitcher who falls off to the third base side, and in order to get to that ball, has to come back over the front of the mound. Tejada knocks it down. Does he have time? He does. Beautiful recovery by Tejada to get Corey Hart for the second out.
There used to be a time you had no chance on Corey Hart, but nice hustle by Tejada to stay with that play and a strong enough throw to get Hart at first base. Hart's had 2 or 3 knee surgeries in the recent past.
And he's had a hamstring this year that he's had to come back from. But a nice job by Tejada to stay with that ball. But anyway, you fall off to the left side. You got to come back over the front of the mound to get to where that ball was, and that's what caused him to stumble.
Well, in today's game, we see it more often than not. The pitchers that come in, Gary, they're really just concerned with throwing pitches. They're not really concerned with the other parts of the game.
Dustin Ackley, the #8 hitter, and Neese throws a fastball by him, and it's 0-2.
This was a #1 pick, right, Ackley?
Second overall pick in 2009 out of North Carolina. Hasn't quite panned out the way they expected. Now in his 4th year, and he goes down swinging. Strikeout number 3 for John Neese. So John has a 1-2-3 inning in the second. On to the third we go with the Mets down 1-0. .com at bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. Get live look-ins, instant replay, scores, stats, audio, free MLB.tv game of the day, and more. Download on the App Store or visit Mets.com today. Ruben Tejada leads off the third inning for New York against Elias. Tejada's bat has cooled down, just one hit in his last 15 at bats. Ruben takes a strike, and as always seems to happen when Ruben comes up, the corners come in. Like he's the speedy guy who lays down a lot of bunts. It's like
he's Bert Campaneris or something.
It's unbelievable. I mean, Seager's playing in at third against a guy who never bunts for hits.
It's a charade. We hear about all this information everyone's got. It's a charade, Gary. I mean, how could they not have the information that Tejada does not bunt and does not run well?
He bunted for a suicide squeeze. That was his bunt for the year. That was a good changeup by Elias as 1-2.
You know, I was trying to figure out why Ruben was struggling. Remember, they moved him out of that 8th slot where he was getting that walk a game and helping keep that average and that on-base percentage up.
Curtis Granderson on deck, then Daniel Murphy here in the third. Ruben in the 9-hole tonight.
It's just that in front of that pitcher, Tejada had gotten to a nice rhythm of knowing that they were going to pitch him tough and taking the walk if he had to.
Mets have had 2 base runners in this game, both on pop flies to the outfield that fell in for hits. One for Murphy, one for d'Arnaud. Changeup bounced, and it's 2-2. Elias making his 20th start, 19 starts before the All-Star break. That's a Mariners rookie record because he was in the rotation from day 1 this year. You were mentioning that he had another Mariners rookie record that surprised you.
That's right. He had a shutout in June, and he's the first rookie Mariners pitcher to throw a shutout since Freddie Garcia in 1999.
So that means Felix Hernandez didn't.
That's right.
Sashi Iwakuma did. Well, those guys very rarely go 9. 3-2. That's outside, ball 4. So Tejada works himself from behind in the count to get a walk. First one given up by Elias. Curtis Granderson coming up, and we check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Welcome to the Great Northwest, Kevin.
This place is beautiful, huh, Gary? I know you had been here. I've been to Seattle, but not to this ballpark. It is awesome. You know, as we watch Granderson come up here, it's interesting, right? I mean, in the offseason, the Mets gave him a $60 million contract because they needed a big power bat behind David Wright. But I think the eye test tells you that he fits better in this leadoff role, and Terry Collins agrees. I asked him today where he saw him hitting long-term for this team. He said, well, judging by what I've seen lately, I think this is where he belongs. Now, granted, it's a small sample size. It's only the 23rd game he's batting leadoff for the Mets. But in those leadoff games, his on-base percentage is .360. That's 10th in the league among anyone that's batted first for their team. As a cleanup hitter, his on-base percentage is .337. Now, granted, some of that is because he slumped so badly in April. But I think just the eye test, guys, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say. He looks better there. I think his approach is better. And again, Terry Collins agreed. Now, Granderson disputed that. He said, look, I don't really think I'm approaching things any differently with the exception of 2 situations. One, if I'm up there and the pitcher comes up after a long inning, I want to give him a rest. I'm certainly going to approach it. As this one gets in the dirt, Tejada's going to go. Zunino's throw is not in time. Tejada got himself second base. But Granderson said, look, you know, if that's a situation where I got to give the pitcher a little time, I will definitely take pitches. The only other time I think where I would change or have changed, he brought up, you know, facing the Braves down by 2, Kimbrel's on. I got to try to work something and get going, try to get a little rally started. But, guys, I feel like he's done that more in his at-bats in this role. Let's see if it sticks.
Wild pitch charged to Elias, and Granderson drives one deep right field. Romero back to the track, and he makes the catch. Tejada back to tag and able to go over to third. Granderson hit it sharply, but Romero with a nice retreat for the first out.
We're talking about a right fielder. You told me before the game, Gary, that used to be an infielder. Nice play by Romero to get on that baseball. You see that sun shining on his face and still able to make a fine catch.
But Ronnie, you talked about how deep these Mariners outfielders play, and that time it really paid off for them. 2 balls in front of them, but that one, Romero able to retreat and get out. Lloyd McClendon with a 1-0 lead in the third is going to bring his infield in to face Daniel Murphy with the heart of the batting order behind him. Interesting call here.
Well, the Mariners, like the Mets of the last couple of games, they've struggled for offense. So maybe that's why McClendon is going to be roll the dice. I would play the infield back with a 1-0 lead, but chooses to be aggressive here as Lloyd.
Lloyd McClendon, who 20-some years ago was a coach with Terry Collins on Jim Leyland's Pirates staff. And McClendon in his first year here, taking over a team that's had 4 straight losing seasons, and he's got them in position right now to be a postseason team.
52-46 this year. They're 47-52 at this point last season.
Last year they finished 71-91. They haven't been in the postseason since 2001, when they won those 116 games before falling to the Yankees in the LCS. Murphy takes it low, and it's 2-1.
Jamie Moyer won 20 games for that Seattle Mariner team.
So you're saying it wasn't very long ago.
No.
David Wright waits on deck. Murphy blooped a single to left his first time up, and Ackley's playing him a little closer to the line this time. Big gap in left center for Murph. I mean, he has been driving balls with regularity in that gap, which is gapingly wide,
including the double yesterday to end a no-hitter. Elias has shown a very good changeup, lefty versus left-handed hitter.
Needs a strikeout here with a runner at third and 1 out. And Murph obliges, chasing a bad breaking ball, and that's the 4th strikeout for Elias.
Well, he starts this breaking ball in the middle of the plate and bends it outside. And Murph with a weak swing.
So 2 out. Tejada still at third, and here's David Wright, who took the call third strike his first time up. The Miami Marlins got 2 runs in the 10th on a Garrett Jones base hit, and they beat Atlanta 3-1 in Atlanta. Brad lifts one foul. The Giants and Dodgers both won, so they'll stay in a virtual tie. Giants beat the Phillies 7-4. Dodgers behind Ryu, down the Pirates 5-2. It's 11-5 now for Hyunjin Ryu. David loops one into right field. That'll fall for a base hit, and the Mets tie the game. Tejada in to score. David Wright, on the 10th anniversary of his big league debut, drives in the tying run. 50 RBIs for the year for David Wright.
It really shows you how each at-bat is interrelated. Last time up, took that fastball in and struck out. This time gets that fastball in again and was ready for it, fighting it off to right field. Good piece of hitting by David.
Did you see Stephen Romero play that ball thinking he could get a 9-3 put out on David Wright? Is he kidding? Come on. Here's Eric Campbell taking low and in for ball 1.
Doesn't he know that it's David's anniversary?
But I mean, you're not going to get a 9-3 put out against any
everyday player. Yeah, exactly.
Not on that kind of a ball. Maybe he's been having foot races with the Mariners bullpen catcher Jason Phillips. David loops one into right field. Now watch this. He's thinking about first base.
David killer.
Campbell went into a force play his first time, and with the runner going, he pulls one foul. David was on his way. Wright has not done much running this year. Feeling a little frisky on his 10-year anniversary. David has basically rewritten the Mets record book in his 10 years in a Mets uniform. Only Darryl Strawberry's home run record remains among the key ones. He's 22 behind right now. We'll get that one soon. Campbell swinging over the changeup, and it's 1-2. Lucas Duda would be next. A walk, a wild pitch, an advancing fly ball, and David Wright's 2-out hit, getting the Mets even here in the third. To Campbell. First, another check in at first, and David was a step off the bag, and a balk is called against Elias. Home plate umpire Doug Eddings called it, saying, I guess, that Elias did not step toward first base.
Well, that is something that the umpires a lot of times know going in to the game, that they'll do a scouting report on their own and know that, you know, this young pitcher, the left-hander for the Mariners, sometimes does not step to first, and he didn't there.
Well, that's Elias's 4th balk of the year, which is the most in the American League. It puts a runner in scoring position. 1-2 to Campbell, and he fouls it off.
So the umpires get scouting reports too and know what's going on.
I guess the question is, you see so many lefties who skirt the edge of that rule. Where's the dividing line?
I remember when a balk was called on me, the late Eric Gregg called it, and I called him out there and said, you know what's amazing, Eric, that left-handers do not step to first. I have to completely turn around, and he called a balk on me. Lost that argument amongst a lot of them.
Yeah, well, you don't win anything.
I'm over.
Seventh pitch of the at bat coming to Campbell. And Soup takes it high, full count. We're talking a lot over the last few days, Ronnie, about guys with long layoffs because of the All-Star break. Campbell hasn't had an at bat in over a week. A week ago Sunday was the last time he came to bat before tonight. Three-two on the way, and he lifts one to shallow center. Easy for James Jones, and that retires the side, but the Mets get even. David Wright celebrating an anniversary, drives in his 50th run of the year, and he gets John Neese back even, 1-1 as we go to the bottom of the third. From West Seattle into downtown across Puget Sound.
Is that where the university is?
Like Zunino skies with a deep left. Forget it. That's way out of here. Zunino, top deck. His 14th home run puts the Mariners back in front 2-1. Well, this is Zunino's game. He is not a high average hitter, but he's got awesome power, and he jumped on John Neese's first pitch and hit it 10 miles.
I don't know if I've ever seen Jonathan Niese give up a home run that deep. First pitch swinging, ball's up in the strike zone, and just a rocket from Zunino.
Chris Young gave it a courtesy run and not much more. So 2-1 Seattle. The curveball outside to Willie Bloomquist. Well, Zunino was the first position player from the 2012 draft to get to the big leagues last year, and it was because of his catching ability, but also because of that power. David Wright can't flag down the ground ball, and Willie Bloomquist is 2 for 2.
Yeah, it was that power. It was his catching ability. David can't get to this Bloomquist one, and also the failure of Jesus Montero to live up to any ability in the catching department.
So Bloomquist aboard for the second time. He stole a base and scored a run in the first, and now James Jones, who struck out on 3 pitches his first trip. And Jones, thinking about a bunt, takes a strike. That had Wright charging hard.
That's David, of course, is going to be in. Campbell holding the runner on at first base. Bloomquist. Double play depth up the middle, but hard pressed to turn 2 on Jones. I'm going to have to ask James Jones tomorrow. Where's 99? Wears his uniform a lot like Juan Pierre. Juan Pierre's number was 9.
Into shallow center. Lagares charging hard, but he has to play it on a hop. And a base hit for James Jones. So 3 straight hits for the Mariners to open this home 3rd inning.
Well, Jonathan's ball has just been up. Pitch is not bad, working the inside part of the plate, but it's up. And Jones is able to dunk that in front of Lagares. See how they're trying to come in with that fastball? Just catches a little too much of the plate. Does jam Jones, but still up in the strike zone.
The only thing Jones is missing in the Juan Pierre look-alike category, he doesn't wear the hat under his helmet. So here's Robinson Cano. And a big spot here for Niese, down in the game 2-1. Struggling here in the 3rd, and now facing Cano with 2 on and nobody out.
Every pitch has been a way to Cano. You cannot pitch him just one certain way. He's a guy that'll go to left field off the left-handed pitching.
And the thing is, now if you pitch him inside, you don't risk him flipping the ball over the right field fence the way he did in the Bronx. So a little longer poke here in Seattle, and one of the reasons Cano has only 7 home runs this year. Just don't hang a curve to him. Saw Tom Glavine do that once. Slap toward 3rd. Wright's only play will be to 1st, and he gets Cano for the first out as the runners move up. So Bloomquist to 3rd, Jones to 2nd with 1 out, and now Kyle Seager, who drove in the first Seattle run, has 2 in scoring position.
$240 million sacrifice there by Cano, moving the runners up.
Carlos Beltran used to bunt. He got paid a lot of money too. Kyle Seager has been raging hot over the last 18 games. He's hitting over .480. Kyle's dad was a college baseball player. Jeff Seager played at Fairleigh Dickinson University when the sports information director at FDU was a guy named Jay Horwitz.
That's right. Those were the days when they had a high jumper named Franklin Jacobs who wasn't too bad.
5'7".
Jumped over 7 feet,
yes,
right?
He did.
Kyle's not the only baseball player in the family. His brothers play also.
Pulled down over the bag and just fouled. Yeah, his 2 younger brothers are a lot bigger than he is. He's only about 6 feet tall, but he's developing into a real star. A curveball from Niese.
Now, you never want to pitch around the guy, but if you use your baseball intelligence here, which Jonathan should do, you have a hitter that's hitting under 200, batting behind him. There is first base open, so you don't want to give in to the hottest hitter that they have in the lineup, other than Cano.
That's up the infield back. They'll concede a run on a ground ball. And Seager takes the fastball high. 2-1. Seager now in his 4th year with the Mariners, and this has been his breakout season. Hangs in well against lefties. It's run about the same average left-handers and right-handers. A broken bat, shallow center. Lagares will have to play it on a hop. 1 run is in. Jones will be held at third. It's an RBI hit for Kyle Seager, and it's 3-1 Seattle.
Well, again, another broken bat, just like Jones, dumped in front of Lagares, who does not play deep. But these balls have not been hit very well. Beautifully read by James Jones, but the runner on third had to keep his position just in case Lagares made a great catch.
Great base coaching by Rich Donnelly to hold Jones at third, because he would have been a dead duck had he tried to score. So 4 hits in the inning have produced 2 runs, and the Mariners up in front 3-1 as Dan Warthen will pay a visit.
This is the only thing from this year, and it's hard to criticize Jonathan Nice with this ERA under 3 coming in. But when he gets in trouble sometimes, to me, it looks like he tries to get through it quickly as opposed to maybe step off, take his time, and really value every pitch.
Well, John Nice's streak is intact of 21 straight starts of 3 earned runs or less, but it's in jeopardy right now with 3 runs already home and runners at the corners and 1 out. Stephan Romero, the batter. Romero had an infield hit his first time up. The ball hit wide of third, and the curveball misses inside for ball 1. Squeeze not out of the question here. Romero can bunt, and Jones can fly at third base. And if you're going to squeeze, John Nice is the perfect guy to do it against, since he's always around the plate.
Well, the one thing about the defense, you see Jones getting the big league because David's playing off the line. I don't like David that far off the line with Jonathan Nice. So many cutters against the right-handed hitter. That leaves that total third base line open.
Sails that fastball. 2-1. Well, you don't know how John's feeling out there. 17 days since his last start. But one thing that's been consistent this year is that his velocity is down. I mean, his average fastball velocity this year is about 1.5 miles slower than it was last year.
He was always around that 90 mark, wasn't he? Not this year.
This year, coming into the night, 88.6. Curveball pulled foul.
That's the pitch that bothers me with the defense, the way it is. Curveball down and in. There's only really one place to hit this ball, is to pull it.
Again, the 2-2. Could be 2. Tejada to Murphy. The turn is in time. Double play, side retired. So Nice gets the ground ball he needs to avoid further damage, but the Mariners get 2. Zunino hits one out of sight. Seager picks up his second RBI, and it's 3-1 Seattle after 3. Lucas Duda gets under one into right center field. And Romero comes in to get it. One pitch and one out for Elias in the top of the fourth. So now Travis d'Arnaud, who had a pop fly single into shallow center his first time up. Mets with a run on 3 hits. The Mariners 3 runs and 7 hits against John Neese. So Ronnie, here's Elias pitching on 11 days rest since his last outing before the All-Star break. And you know, we saw Dylan G struggle with 9 days rest in that start in San Diego the other night. How do you avoid the long rest letdown?
Well, I'll tell you that it's much harder for Dylan than for Elias. And why is that? Elias is a power pitcher. We can see the good fastball, curveball, and changeup. So really, he benefits. You talked about his stats, over 10 ERA his last 3 starts. He benefited from the rest because his arm now is strong again. With Dylan, what happens if he goes into the start with his arm too strong? Ball's going to be up and the ball's going to be straight, and that's what happened against the Padres. You know, it's just it's you know, you always say, well, you can just play catch. Well, you know, if you're a New York athlete, sometimes it's hard to play catch. You know, you're living in the city. You got to find someone who can catch, you know, throwing the way those guys throw.
I mean, is the solution to go multiple bullpen sessions? Is that the way to go? As d'Arnaud takes one the other way, and he gets his second hit of the night. Nice job by d'Arnaud. The only place he could hit that ball was right field, and he did. And Travis is 2 for 2.
Daniel Murphy, no towel, went with the finger. Yeah, you can do that, Gary. I know that. I was lucky enough. The late batting practice pitcher for the Mets, Tony Ferrara, used to live in my neighborhood. So the park that's right near the Midtown Tunnel, he and I would go there and play catch. So over the break, a lot of times, because Dwight was at the All-Star game, I would get a lot of those starts coming out of the break. So he helped me by, I was able to play catch every day and stay on the same routine. But sometimes it's challenging to do that.
And, you know, it's probably a little more difficult now because in your day there was a 3-day All-Star break. Now it's a 4-day break, so you have more pitchers getting more days when that break occurs.
And didn't Terry Collins decide not to work out this year? So that's another day taken off. So
Chris Young popped up his first time up.
Plus, it was Dylan's second start after coming off the disabled list. There's a lot of different things there that were working against G in that start against San Diego.
He'd been so good in that first start off the DL, but then again, he had been on, you know, regular rotation working through his rehab starts, even though he hadn't been throwing a lot of pitches. Elias behind 2-0 and fires outside. Now it's 3-0. Elias has walked 1. He struck out 4, allowed 1 run and 4 hits.
Down 2 runs. You're not swinging here 3-0. Shouldn't say that. Usually you don't swing 3-0 when you're down a couple of runs.
This guy might let swing. And that's ball 4, and the Mets have 2 men on. You could win a trip for 4 to Universal Orlando Resort, where you'll enjoy the action and fun of 2 amazing theme parks, plus stay on site at the new Universal Cabana Bay Beach Resort. Just go to sny.tv/Toyota and enter the Toyota Fan Flyaway Sweepstakes for your chance to win.
Well, there's Rick Waits, the pitching coach for the Seattle Mariners, part of this Mariners Mets West over here.
It is great to see Rick, who was the Mets minor league pitching coordinator for years and is one of the great pitching minds in the game.
Yes, he is. Pitched with Cleveland was the team he mostly played with, or pitched for.
Had some really good years with the Indians. And the Mariners are pitching extremely well. They've got one of the best bullpens in baseball and the second best staff ERA in the American League. That's the other piece of Mets connection, which probably fewer people know about, while Madara steps in, is that Lloyd McClendon, the Seattle Mariner manager, was originally drafted by the Mets.
I didn't know that.
Never played for the Mets, but he started out in the Mets organization. Lagares flied out to right his first time up. And chases the changeup. 0-2.
Well, that's the pitch, of course, when one is swinging well and on top of his game, he is laying off of that pitch.
Now the 0-2. Lays off that changeup. 1-2.
Zunino so far in this game is calls a couple changeups away. He likes to come with that fastball in. Let's see if he does it with Lagares.
Two on and one out. And Lagares tries to lay off the breaking ball, but he went around strike 3. Do not start your swing unless you intend to go through with it, because Doug Eddings is calling everything.
Good breaking ball down in the dirt. Stopped by Zunino. Great stop. The check swing called on Lagares.
5 strikeouts now for Elias. So 2 out of 2 on for Ruben Tejada, who worked out a walk and scored the Met run in the 3rd. And Ruben takes a fastball for a strike.
Pretty impressed so far by young Zunino. Not only his power, but his ability to block the baseball and call a game. Heard a lot of good things about him, despite his average just over 200.
3rd overall pick in the draft just 2 years ago out of the University of Florida. There's that changeup. A big pitch for Elias so far tonight.
Well, it's probably his best pitch. It's better than his breaking ball. People say, well, Zunino's only hitting 2 and change. You know what? He was rushed to the big leagues, so that's what the result sometimes happens for young catchers.
And he's got 14 home runs, so he's contributing. Popped up, smoke back into foul ground. Side retired. Mets strand 2. They've left 5 aboard in the first 4 innings and trail 3-1. Nice, who gave up 2 runs and 4 hits in the 3rd inning as the Mariners regained the lead. Smoke hit a comebacker his first time, and he bounces one down to David Wright. Plenty of time against the slow-footed Smoke. One pitch and one out for Nice in the home fourth. Well, Safeco Field opened in 1999 and early in 2000. The old home of the Mariners, the Kingdome, was imploded.
Well, Gary, I played in that ballpark many times, and like Minnesota, there wasn't many ballparks that were any louder than the Kingdome when it was rocking and rolling.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when the Mariners first started and they came into existence in 1977, they were awful for a long time, and it wasn't until Junior Griffey came along and basically saved the franchise, and they started drawing crowds in the mid-90s. Otherwise, baseball might not have survived here in Seattle. They drew so poorly. But they started rocking the Kingdome, as you said, and it became a great home field advantage for them.
And then they ended up having some of the best stars in the game have passed through Seattle, whether it was Junior, Edgar Martinez,
Randy Johnson, Ichiro Suzuki. I mean, just on and on.
Right. You know, they had a right fielder in Griffey's time that was always overlooked, Jay Buhner, who was a heck of a player.
Now, there is a move afoot. You mentioned Edgar Martinez. Move afoot here in Seattle to try and get him boosted for the Hall of Fame. Now, Edgar Martinez arguably is the greatest DH since the DH rule was instituted in the early 70s. But he was strictly a DH. So the question is Edgar Martinez a Hall of Famer?
Well, you know, what's interesting is that there's always a mark against the DH for whatever reason. I don't think there should be. It's a position. I mean, that's how the rules are written. Jonathan Nice walks Corey Hart. But I think what's going to hurt Edgar Martinez is that whole generation that he played in, there's so much controversy over the numbers because of steroids, that if your numbers are not through the roof, then sometimes you're going to be left holding the barrel. I mean, Bagwell's going through that, and his numbers are unbelievable.
Full strike to Dustin Ackley. I think that as great as Edgar Martinez was, and he was as good a right-hand hitter during his heyday as there was in baseball, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
I've had to face him, and he was such a good hitter. He's the only guy that I would kind of make up pitches with. I remember once I just threw like a batting practice fastball down the middle. He popped it up. He was so angry running down to first.
Ackley hits one past the mound and up the middle. The 8th Mariners hit. And again, Seattle has 2 men on. Now it's Zunino, who hit one into the second deck in left field his first time up.
On a first pitch fastball. So let's see what Jonathan Nice counters with here in the second at bat. Now almost half the time he's letting it fly on that first pitch.
Might want to consider bouncing it. Runs that cutter inside, gets a strike.
And this is about as impressive a home run as we've seen all season long. That was a Jay Buhner kind of home run.
We've seen a couple of rather impressive ones on this road trip.
I missed a couple of those.
The 2 Yasmani Grandal home runs, the one that he hit 440 feet off Dillon Gee, the longest home run at Petco Park this year, but maybe even more so the one he one-handed out of the ballpark yesterday against Zach Wheeler on a changeup 6 inches off the ground. It was, I'm telling you, it was Gibson against Eckersley.
Really?
Yeah.
Just kind of flicked it over the fence.
I mean, 418 feet, one-handed. 2-1 to Zunino. Bounced over the bag. That's foul. Wright playing way off the line against a right-hand pull hitter, so that's a little surprising.
You know, remember when Jonathan was at his best that year, he won 13 games. David played almost on the line exclusively that year, because you remember Santana was pitching in those days, and they played the same way for Johan.
Yeah, and I remember Oliver Perez said, well, if you play there for Johan, you should play there for me too. Check
the back of the card, Oliver.
2-2 coming, and Zunino takes strike 3 call. Fastball got him. 4th strikeout for Nice. 2 out of the inning.
Well, nice job by Jonathan. Got hurt by the fastball when he came up and in. This time he's kept the ball down, and it surprised Zunino.
So 2 out and 2 on. Now Willie Bloomquist. Bloomquist already 2 for 2 tonight. A stolen base and 2 runs scored. Hart at second. Ackley at first with 2 out. And the curveball hit in the air to deep left center. Lagares a long way back in the gap. It's over his head and 1 hop over the wall. A ground rule double. That'll cost the Mariners a run. Ackley will have to stop at third, but Hart scores to make it 4-1 Seattle. Willie Bloomquist with a long double, his 3rd hit of the night.
Well, the walk hurts Jonathan because of this double here by Bloomquist. This is usually a ball we see Lagares catch up to, but it's such a vast outfield here that he never gets back there in time.
He was playing shallow and toward right center. Just too much ground to make up. So now 2 in scoring position for James Jones with a chance to blow the doors off this game. And he bounces one toward the middle. Tejada runs it down, and the quick toss gets Jones to end the inning. So Nice able to limit the damage to 1 run in the 4th on Bloomquist's long double. 15 years after the Kingdome was no more. 4-1 Seattle. Early and often against John Neese, whose streak is over. 21 straight starts, allowing 3 earned runs or less. He's given up 4 tonight. Curtis Granderson leads off the 5th. Last time Neese allowed more than 3 earned runs, it was September 7th last year in Cleveland. Gave up 5 earned runs in 6 innings in that game. And now, 10 months later, he gives up more than 3 earned runs again. Granderson 0 for 2. He struck out and fly deep to right. Roenis Elias gets it in. Call 3rd strike on the breaking ball. Granderson barks at Doug Eddings and goes away unhappy.
I would bark at him too. That ball was up in the strike zone. It's not a strike. Once Zunino catches it, it looks like a strike, but this ball is just high. The ball never really crossed the strike zone. Too much height.
6 strikeouts for Elias. 1 out of the 5th for Daniel Murphy. 1 for 2 on the night. And Murphy takes a fastball strike, and Elias now with a 3-run lead, just pumping strikes. He's walked 2 tonight, struck out 6, allowed a run on 4 hits. Pulled toward the hole, but Cano is over. And that's the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. You can get a complete breakdown of tonight's Mets-Mariners opener with insider info, opinion, and post-game reactions, plus a preview of tomorrow's game as Jacob deGrom looks to start his second half strong on Mets blog presented by Verizon, part of the SNY.TV blog network. Well, David Wright has driven in the only Met run with an opposite field 2-out single in the third.
See David taking his time there. You know, he's had a quick inning so far with the first 2 outs, so David taking his time before he get in the box. A little stall technique. Like you don't want this pitcher to just run through you so quickly.
Is that also for his pitcher to give him a little blow?
Definitely part. You know, David's just a professional. He knows the game. He knows the things that you have to do. They already have the momentum by scoring in 3 of the 4 innings. You don't want them to have the momentum of going back to hitting in a matter of 5 minutes.
Eric Campbell would be next. You know, on the occasion of the 10-year anniversary of David's debut, there have been a lot of tributes thrown his way. And Terry Collins said something interesting today. You know, he's had other elite players. He had Jeff Bagwell, he had Tim Salmon. He's had some really top-notch players, and he said what sets those guys apart is that they understand their importance to the collective. That's hit toward the hole, and a base hit for David Wright, his second of the night. So David Wright is 2 for 3. And what he said is that, you know, everybody suffers through the aches and pains of this game, but that those guys prepare themselves somewhat differently because they know how little the team can afford to lose them for even a day.
Well, they've got to manage their rest. The manager doesn't do it. They have to do it. And if that means not taking batting practice sometimes, if that means not taking ground balls because maybe your back's a little stiff, those are the things that David does as well as any other great player. Terry Collins also said that in all his time here, he's never seen David miss a workout after a game. And when I think of David Wright, you know, on this anniversary here at his 10th, I think of one word. There's a toughness to David that I think people don't always think about. You know, I think about, you know, he's the handsome guy. He's the, you know, the third baseman with, you know, he's had an amazing career. But I don't think they really think about his toughness. He played with a broken back for part of one season. He's in there 150 plus games a year.
Well, even the thing with his shoulder recently, the fact that he came back after a short period of time, waited until the last game before the All-Star break was completed, then had the cortisone shot to make sure that he'd be ready when the break was over. Not a lot of guys would have done that. Zunino with another nice stop.
It was interesting when Jeter announced his retirement. Remember, David cheekily said he'd like to have his career, you know, the championships and all that. But, you know, I think David would like to have that kind of career where he's in one uniform and he plays for 20 years and he's halfway there.
Well, I think that's why he signed the 8-year deal. He considers himself a Met. He wants to be a Met, and he wants to be here when the good times arrive. And at the same time, he's putting up numbers that I think people don't really understand how good they are. I mean, Elias ran some numbers out. 300 lifetime batting average, 1,660 hits, 230 home runs, 925 RBIs, 894 runs scored. Only 9 other players in Major League history had all those numbers in their first 10 years.
And they're all bud names, big names.
Hank Aaron, Miguel Cabrera, Matt Holliday, Chuck Klein, Albert Pujols, Frank Robinson, Frank Thomas, Vladimir Guerrero. Those are big names. Check swing, he held it in time. And Campbell keeps the bat alive. So, I mean, he's in some rarefied air there.
He is in rarefied air. This is one of the few that Doug Eddings did not call a check swing. But you know what the Hall of Fame is? He's got to do it for another 10 years.
Sure.
That's how hard it is. You know, then he gets to what? The 400 home run plateau. Over 3,000 hits. Easier said than done. Long way to go.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch because, you know, like every hitter as he gets into his 30s, he's going to have to make certain adjustments, maybe in terms of his preparation, maybe in terms of his approach at the plate. And some guys do that better than others. Good at bat here for Campbell, working the count to 3-2. Wright will be running. Duda on deck. Elias about to throw his 85th pitch. And Campbell down on strikes. What a great changeup from Elias for his 7th strikeout. Another knockout performance by a Cuban rookie. 4-1 halfway through. Cano grounds the first pitch to Daniel Murphy, and after a half-hearted jog, he's out, 1 away. That's nice to see the Robbie Cano half-hearted jog again.
Look at that. That's tired.
Moose has been around for a long time. There was a time when the Mariner Moose was the most exciting thing the Mariners had. Back in the Alvin Davis days.
You know, Alvin Davis, Rookie of the Year in 1984. He's a guy that, boy, like a supernova, his career, and then
he was a Joe Charbonneau type.
But he had more years than Joe.
Yeah, more like a Chris Cotton.
There you go. We were talking about the Kingdome before, folks. To see Matsuzaka up in the bullpen. There used to be a noise when Ken Griffey Jr. would hit a home run, which he hit many home runs off him. He hit a home run in that ballpark. The explosion off his bat would almost scare you as a pitcher. That's how loud it was. And echoing.
1-1 to Seager, and he pulls one down to first. Nice play by Campbell, and they'll race him to the bag. He wasn't going to get there, but Campbell does. 2 out. Here's your Mets' upcoming schedule, brought to you by Honda. 2 more games here in Seattle. Night game tomorrow, day game Wednesday, then 4 in Milwaukee before the Mets head home for 3 with the Phillies and 3 with the Giants. Now that, I believe it's the Tuesday night game with the Phillies next week when we go out to the Shea Bridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, let me know, because I want to make sure they make it on the broadcast. I'll be sitting in the room all by myself.
We won't leave you stranded, I promise. I'm more worried about Keith showing up, to be honest. He gets a little anxious in crowds sometimes. It's Stephen Romero, and he fouls one away. Romero had an infield hit in the first, grounded into a double play to end the third. He's looking for a nice clean inning here in the 5th after trouble in 3 of the first 4 innings. Cutter runs inside, 1-1. Well, we mentioned earlier that the Braves lost their game. The Nationals are on the verge of winning. They're up 7-2 in Colorado in the ninth. So, you know, the Mets made up some ground. They got from 11 out to 7 out, but you know, with the loss tonight, they could find themselves 9 games out again and verging on the edge of being out of it. Hit hard, a base hit for Stephen Romero, his second hit of the night. And the Mariners' 10th hit against John Meese in 4 2/3.
Just a fastball right there. And Romero jumped all over.
And these games right now are of such utmost importance in terms not necessarily of the Mets making a pennant run. That's not really the point. It's more about how the Mets perceive themselves in the shadow of the trading deadline, which is now 10 days away.
Well, I think that you have to talk about the standings. You have to look at the standings. But more importantly, if you're a Mets player or a team, you're trying to get the 500. Gary. I mean, that's to go get the 500, then maybe kind of make a run. And they've stalled here in San Diego and in tonight.
But I guess my point is, you're not going to get to 500 before the 31st.
That's right.
But you have to, you know, convince your management that you're a contender. Otherwise, you go into a very different mode than you might otherwise. I mean, for instance, Seattle, they know they're buyers. They're in it.
That's right.
Right now, they're in the second wild card spot. They need an offensive boost to stay there, and that's what they're working on right now. For the Mets, you're kind of in Netherland. There's ball 4, and Meese's difficult night continues, and maybe not for much longer. That's his second walk, and Dan Warthen, who's worn out a path to the mound tonight, will trudge out again.
Well, this is 2 reasons. One, to try to get Jonathan through this inning, and secondly, to give Matsuzaka a little more time to get ready if Neese can't get the hitter hard out.
Nice hat on, meaning he's serious. We had to relearn the Dice K rules when we were in San Diego. He was up, hat off at the first inning.
Real
on Friday night.
Piece of work when he goes out in that bullpen, but so effective. Yeah, I think that if you were the Seattle Mariners, who would you? Not saying what player would you like. What position would you like to get a bat for? I think first base would be a real position.
I think that's what they're looking at. They're looking at upgrading first base offensively. They were hoping that Corey Hart would be that guy. Hart missed all of last year. He had surgery on both his knees, and they took a flyer on him. He's 32 years old. He's had a hamstring injury again this year, and he just hasn't hit. So I think that they pretty much figured out that he's not going to be the answer. Smoke has disappointed them year after year at that position. That gets away from d'Arnaud, and over to third goes Romero. Wild pitch charge to Neese, only his second wild pitch of the season.
Well, I think d'Arnaud does everything you want to do to try to block this. But when a ball hits before the plate, which that curveball did, it's going to come up high into the catcher, and it makes it a little more difficult to corral it. But
it just seems like some catchers have the knack of making their chest protector a pillow.
It's like some infielders have soft hands. Some catchers just have not soft bodies, but you know what I'm saying.
The ability to make that ball die after hitting that chest protector.
Well, if you ask all good catchers, one of the things you have to do is when you block that ball, one, you have to kind of move up on it when you know it's going to hit before the plate. So you give yourself, you know, a couple more inches, 3 inches closer to the ball. And the second thing is your head's got to stay down, so you curl your body kind of around it.
2-1 coming, and Hart lines one to short and snagged by Tejada. Timed it perfectly on a ball that appeared headed for left center field. Beautiful leap by Tejada to take a base hit away from Corey Hart and save a run. Second terrific play by Tejada tonight. Both of them against Hart. Keeps it 4-1 after 5. Inning, Lucas Duda leads off against Elias and takes it up and away for ball one. I think that's the first time we've seen the first pitch of Lucas's at bat tonight. Good job. Duda has struck out and flied out 0 for 2. Takes a big rip at a fastball. Mariners playing the full triangle shift against Duda.
Very interesting. Zunino coming out. Looks like he might have hurt his arm. Zunino motioning to McClendon to come out.
And Elias looking distressed as he stands behind the mound. Elias unleashing that fastball at 90 miles an hour, but clearly some concern.
Well, he said I'm all right, but let's see what happens here. This is the pitch to Duda. Second pitch of the at bat. Threw it right by him. See a little stutter step there. Zunino saw something he didn't like, but to me, when I was watching him talk to the trainer, it seemed like he was motioning that maybe he had, tweaked his wrist a little bit.
Yeah, he was kind of holding his hand away from his body like he was trying to stretch out his wrist.
He's like, come on, let's go. I'm ready. With all the concern with starters, it's very rare you see a guy stay in a game. Yeah, you see him there. He's just trying to stretch his arm out a little bit. There you go.
That's it right there. Well, the Mariners have been able to manipulate their rotation this week. The Mets were supposed to face their co-ace Iwakuma on Wednesday, but he and Felix Hernandez have both been moved back a day to Thursday and Friday. And so the Mariners rotation's in a little bit of flux right now. It's funny, Terry Collins, of course, is good friends with Lloyd McClendon. They coached together in Pittsburgh, and as of like 2 hours before the game tonight, the Mariners had not announced a starter for Tuesday or for Wednesday. That's been fairly settled now. And Terry was talking about how in Japan, a lot of times managers, as Dominic Leone gets up in the bullpen for the Mariners, in Japan, a lot of managers will not announce their starting pitcher to the other team. In fact, right up until game time, they'll have the pitcher warm up under the stand so that nobody sees, and they'll actually put 2 pitchers in the starting lineup. There's strike 3, and Duda's out for the 8th strikeout for Elias. They'll put one in the pitcher spot, one in the DH spot, and they'll scratch one right before the game. He's called it the Japanese double dead horse move. And he said he might pull that against McClendon because McClendon was so reticent about naming a starter. Well, they're still concerned about Elias, and it looks like they may want to pull him now.
Just not going to take a chance with that talented left arm.
So they let him complete the at bat and strike out Duda. And whoever comes in to replace Elias will get as much time as he needs to warm up. Nobody was throwing in that Mariners bullpen until just a moment ago, when they got Leone up, and Leone will get as long as he needs, and the umpire already went over to Terry Collins to tell him that this is an injury replacement, and so that'll enable Leone to get as many tosses as he needs from the mound. So Elias is out of the game after 5 1/3. Leone comes in to replace him. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by Verizon. Norwich, Connecticut native Dominic Leone is out of the Seattle bullpen to pitch to Travis d'Arnaud, and he runs a fastball inside for ball one.
He was a starter and reliever in college at Clemson. He's a guy that was passed over by a lot of rounds, drafted in the 16th round by the Mariners because only 5'11", doesn't throw overly hard, although hit 93 there. But slider's his best pitch.
d'Arnaud is 2 for 2 tonight. Popped one into center field that fell in the second, then lined one into right for a base hit in the fourth. So Elias is forced out of the game because of injury after 5 1/3. d'Arnaud gets a hold of one deep left field. Ackley back near the wall and leaping, and he made the catch. Ackley comes down with it. He took a home run away from Travis d'Arnaud. Well, Endy Chavez is in the building, and Dustin Ackley makes an Endy Chavez-like catch.
I mean, he went over a foot or two over that wall to bring that ball back. Just almost a snow cone in his glove as he robs d'Arnaud. We said that these outfielders play deep, and 2 times now, big plays by their outfielders.
Wow. You know what the irony of that catch is, in addition to the fact that Endy's in the building? Travis d'Arnaud hit that ball. Last night for the Indianapolis Indians, Travis d'Arnaud's brother Chase made a catch just like that, going over the fence to rob a hitter of a home run. And now Chase's brother Travis gets robbed by Dustin Ackley. Well, this was Endy back in 06 against Scott Rowland. Bigger spot in Game 7 of the League Championship Series, but Ackley's was pretty good too. Endy's been playing almost every day against right-handers. He'll probably be in the lineup tomorrow against Jacob deGrom.
Turn that into a double play to get the aforementioned Oliver Perez out of that inning.
Doubled up Jim Edmonds at first base. He was all the way around second and halfway to third. 2-1 to Chris Young. Well, that's a spectacular play for Ackley, who, as we mentioned, was a second baseman. They moved him to the outfield. They moved him out there last year, and he's become a plus defensive player. Broken bat taken the other way. Nobody there. And Chris Young has a base hit. Well, that's how you beat the shift. Just lose the bat and find a hole.
Well, playing him to pull and pitching him away. How does that work? Not very well. Base hit to right field. Good for Chris Young.
So the Mets have a hit in every inning tonight, but no more than 1 hit in any inning. As Juan Lagares is flied out and struck out 0 for 2. And as Leone runs one up and in, Zunino's going to run it out there. So this is a pitcher's fate, right? Leone gives up a home run that turns into an out, and he breaks a bat that turns into a hit. Those are his 2 batters so far. They say it all evens out in the end.
Yeah, it doesn't.
High strike, 1-1.
I'm still waiting for Strawberry to rob Gedman of the home run in the 7th game of the World Series.
Straw robbed a few in his time. Didn't have to jump very high to do it.
That was a more important one for me. I needed that one. I didn't in retrospect.
Well, you might have, but the team survived.
That's right. Good breaking ball here, down, catches the inside of the shin guard of Zunino. Didn't even move. Shook it off like he's a fire hydrant.
Ruben Tejada would be next. Chris Young at first and 2 out. Leone in front on Lagares, 1 and 2. To the right side, and a nice easy hop for Cano. And that ends the inning. So the Mets leave it another. Dustin Ackley. Beat Endy Chavez. Darno joins Scott. Well, the guy who robbed you of a home run has to get him to bat in the next inning, right? Andy did. Didn't go well.
No.
Dustin Ackley 1 for 2 tonight, and he bounces one toward the middle, and that's through for a base hit. Hit number 11 for the Mariners. Ackley's second of the night. And John Neese continues to struggle. Well, there's Andy Chavez, who will live forever in Mets lore. Now 36 years old and playing well for the Mariners.
Did you see who he was having a laugh with over there in the dugout? Chris Woodward. Another connection of Mets West out here in Mariner land.
Chris Woodward played for the Mets on that 06 team, along with Endy. Here's Mike Zunino, who hit a second deck home run to left back in the third. Endy played 3 years as a Met, 06, 07, 08. And here's another piece of Endy Chavez trivia which relates to tonight. Passed along by our intrepid producer Gerard Guilfoyle, who was in attendance that night. When David Wright made his major league debut against the Expos, July 21st, 2004, 10 years ago tonight, the Expos got a 3-run homer in that game from Endy Chavez.
Wow.
Who used to kill the Mets when he played for the Expos. Zunino strikes out. 5 strikeouts now for Neese. Endy was not much of a hitter at that time in his career, but he killed the Mets. Now, the Mets had originally signed Endy out of Venezuela, and they had let him go, and he made his debut with the Expos, and he used to crush the Mets. I think he actually played for Kansas City before he went to Montreal, but he had been originally signed by the Mets. And went to Montreal, played for Washington, Philly before the Mets got him back. Anyway, he hit a 3-run homer in the game in which David Wright made his debut. They're calling it a cramp in the left forearm for Rowanus Elias that knocked him out of the game. Willie Bloomquist having a big night. He's 3 for 3, 2 singles and a double. He's stolen a base. He's scored 2 runs. He's driven in a run.
For you pitchers out there that ever become professionals, you've got to come up with a little better injury than the cramp in the forearm. It just doesn't work. You got to come up with severe tightness in the forearm. That's a good one. But the cramp in the forearm just.
The cramp doesn't cut it.
It doesn't cut it.
Charlie Furbush, the left-hander, up in the Mariners bullpen. On the inside corner, there's a good cutter by Neese. 1-2. It's not a pretty line for John tonight. By the way, Andy Chavez career against the Mets, .328 hitter. One two on the outside corner, got him looking. First time Neese has gotten Bloomquist out tonight. He's got back-to-back strikeouts here in the 6th.
Well, fastball in or cutter in, and then fastball paint away. We saw Zunino steal a low strike earlier. D'Arnaud did there.
You know, when Doug Eddings first started umpiring in the major leagues, he had a reputation as a pitcher's umpire supreme. And he kind of backed away from it for a few years, but the last few times we've seen him, as the runner goes, the throw by D'Arnaud is perfect, and out at second is Ackley. Like I said, the last few times we've seen Eddings, he's become a pitcher's umpire again. D'Arnaud, who hasn't been throwing well, threw a perfect strike there. And Ackley is gunned down to end the bottom of the 6th. 2-6 on the caught stealing. 4-1 Seattle. Mets have now scored just 2 runs in their last 24 innings. Ruben Tejada leads off against Dominic Leone and takes a cutter for a strike. Ruben walked and scored the only Met run in the 3rd. Then he popped up with 2 men on to end the 4th. Lifts one down the right side. That'll go out of play.
What was the number you gave? 4 runs in the last 32 innings?
2 runs in the last 24 innings.
Okay.
Right? They got shut out on Saturday. They got 1 run yesterday. They have 1 run today.
Because they scored 3 in the 1st in Friday night's game?
Right, but they also scored in their last attempt.
Yeah, that's right.
Hit by D'Arnaud in the top of the 9th that gave them the win on Friday. Took a 4-0 lead in that game. Cologne allowed the Padres to tie it, and then the Mets won in the 9th. By the way, in the Washington win over Colorado tonight, 7-2 at Coors Field, Ian Desmond 5 for 5, 2-run homer tonight. Always helps playing at Coors Field.
He got off to a tremendously slow start, did Ian Desmond, but that has all changed.
One and 2 to Tejada, leading off the 7th. And Zunino blocks that one. 2-2. We're into Tuesday morning on the East Coast, but it's not fully dark here in Seattle. It's after 9 o'clock local time, and there's still plenty of daylight.
That's right.
2-2. Over short, a base hit for Tejada. So Rubin's aboard to start the 7th. Let's check in with the studio. Steve Gelb standing by for a game break brought to you by your local Tri-Honda dealers. Thanks, Steve. Lloyd McClendon out to the mound with the left-hand hitters coming up. They'll bring in the southpaw to face Curtis Granderson. Charlie Furbush coming into the game for Seattle will step aside. Mariners up 4-1 in the 7th. Has returned to the Hill in tonight's game. Plus, bring you all the latest from Giants camp on Daily News Live, presented by Citi tomorrow at 5, only on SNY. Charlie Furbush will come in to pitch for the Mariners.
Well, he was part of that big trade that Detroit made late in the year when they were trying to make a run, very similar to what we were talking about July 31st for Doug Fister, who really helped them that season, the Tigers.
Facing another former Tiger, Curtis Granderson, who takes a strike.
Furbush is a big left-hander that they thought might be a starter at some point, but has found a home in the bullpen.
Brandon Moore up in the bullpen for the Mariners. Granderson lays off the slider, stopped it in time, 1-1. Curtis 0 for 3 tonight, 2 strikeouts and a deep fly ball to right. Facing Charlie Furbush from South Portland, Maine. Now, I had to look this up, but I was shocked when I found out the pitcher from the state of Maine, who was born in Maine, who has the most victories in Major League history.
Well, I mean, I have a guess right away. I thought it was Billy Swift.
Now, Billy Swift had a nice career, but this guy who did not grow up in Maine, he actually went to high school in Kearney, New Jersey, was born in Portland, Maine. Bob Stanley.
Oh, really?
115 big league wins, most by a pitcher who was born in Maine.
And one spitballer went to the backstop.
Yeah, well, still should have been a pass ball. Damn, you should have had it. 1-2 coming. He spins that one inside. 2-2. Daniel Murphy on deck, so Furbish in to face Granderson and Murphy, and they'll keep the right-hander ready for David Wright. 2-2 coming. Another slider, got it. So Furbish comes in, strikes out Granderson. Third time Curtis has been struck out tonight.
Just a little slider away from Curtis that he swings through. Furbish throws 3/4, so it makes those left-handers sometimes give in just a little bit.
Still some daylight. 12:11 Eastern time.
How great is it if you're a kid here, right? Playing hoops or baseball in the summer. Play forever.
There's Murphy with 1 out and 1 on. I mean, you get a little bit of this in the Eastern time zone when you go to Cincinnati.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Murphy had a bloop single to left back in the first. Struck out and grounded out since. There's a strike. 0-2.
Talking about time zones. I remember my father and I went for a trip fly fishing and golf, Gary. Fly fishing in the morning, and we would routinely make a golf time for 5 or 6 o'clock at night because it wouldn't get dark till 11.
This is
in Montana.
In Montana. Well, go to Alaska for the summer. Play all night. Oh, and a nice grab by Smoke to save Furbish an error.
Quick reaction from Smoke, reaching across his body to come up with that. I think a lot of pitchers kind of casual it over there, and that's why so many bad throws.
0-2 coming to Murphy. He fights off that side.
It's the first game I've seen in a while that Murph has a lot of defensive swings. Probably says something about quality of pitching from the young starter here by Furbish.
Well, you also wonder with Murph, everybody else had the All-Star break. He's been playing every day all year. He might be a little fatigued.
Yeah.
Murphy able to lay off that slider. 1-2.
So Murph is trying to keep his foundation, his base. Both times he's almost buckling at the knees on that breaking ball that's going on the outside corner instead of staying kind of upright.
Furbish with the 1-2. And Murphy hits it out to left center. Overcomes Ackley to get it. 2 out. Time for our Verizon trivia question. Who was the winning pitcher in David Wright's major league debut 10 years ago today? While you
get off your cell phones.
Yeah, well, that makes it easy.
Use gray matter. Brain power.
Well, McClendon's going to make a pitching change and bring in the right-hander to face David Wright. So Charlie Furbish got his 2 left-hand hitters out. Now it'll be Brandon Marr to come in to face David Wright. 4-1 Seattle in the 7th. We'll be right back. innings and 12 innings the first 2 games out of the All-Star break against the Angels. Brandon Morrow will be their 3rd reliever tonight.
Well, those numbers are inflated. In the bullpen, he's perfect. But starter is where he has struggled with a 7 ERA. Started 7 games this year.
Started 15 games last year, and he's also spent some time in the minors, so Moore has been all over the place. Brought in to face David Wright with 2 on the runner at first. David is 2 for 3 tonight. Has driven in the only Met run and takes a nice looking fastball for a strike. 1-1. The Mariners in 3 games against the Angels played 37 innings. They used 16 relievers in the 3 games. So everybody out there is a little taxed. In fact, Lloyd McClendon said before the game tonight he probably doesn't have his closer Fernando Rodney, who tried to get a 5-out save yesterday and wound up losing the game in the 9th.
And losing some of the respect from the Angel players.
Well, too much bow and arrow.
He went early with the bow and arrow. It hurt him.
William Tell never had that problem. Always knew exactly when to pull back the strings of that bow. Fernando Rodney maybe a little off. 3-1 to Wright. And David hits one in the air to center. Should be easy for James Jones. And that retires the side. So Furbush and Moore combined to get the Mariners through the top of the 7th. Stretch time in Seattle. 4-1 Mariners.
Today in the game against the Padres comes in and he'll take over for the Mets, who trail the Mariners here. He'll face James Jones, who started off. Gary started to talk about Jones earlier today. He's a Brooklyn kid, went to LIU, but he was a pitcher and a really good one at LIU. As a matter of fact, he threw 95 miles an hour. He was telling me earlier that really most teams thought of him as a pitcher. That's what they were looking to draft him as. But the Mariners, when they brought him in, he said, you know, I knew it was going to be a little different because all these pre-draft workouts, I was throwing bullpen sessions, and I get to the Mariners, and I didn't throw a bullpen session. They did everything else. So he said, I guess they're looking at me in some other way. And, of course, they drafted him as an outfielder, and here he is. So how good of an arm did Jones have in LIU, you ask? Well, how about this? The Northwoods League back in 2008. He was in Waterloo, Iowa. And he said, we had this game before every game. Me and some of the coaches tries to bunt on edging, but a little too hard. And even his speed can't beat it out. Murphy throws him out 1 down, but I'll finish the story about Jones. Since we had this game where I would try and throw the baseballs in the buckets that we would arrange around the field. So after I missed one, I just decided to rear up, and I was standing at home plate, and I threw it over the right field wall. So one of my coaches said, hey, wait, do that again. So this time I turned to center field and threw it over the center field wall while standing at home plate. He said, now look, center field and that ballpark we were in was only 360. Only 360 gives you an idea of the type of arm he had, but the Mariners saw something, and he's played well for them in the outfield so far. Gary?
Robinson Cano drills one into right field, and it beats Granderson and goes to the wall. Cano trying for two, and he slides in safely with a one-out double.
Well, I think that Curtis underestimated how hard this ball was hit by Robinson Cano, and it beat him to the wall. Consistently hits the ball as hard as anyone in the game.
Snell double out of the box, so he ran hard. 23rd double of the year for Cano. The 12th hit for the Mariners tonight, but Cano's first. Now every Mariner has reached base safely tonight. There's Kyle Seager, 2 for 3, a pair of RBI hits. Well, up here in the booth before the inning began, when Josh Edgerton was brought into the game, Ronnie said to me, Jones has to bunt on him, right? He had to watch the tape of yesterday's game.
And he did. Almost tried it in the same spot, just a little too hard.
See, now if Seth Smith had hit the ball like that yesterday, we'd still be playing in San Diego. Toward the left field line, and over comes Chris Young, and retires Seager for the second out. Well, this was yesterday, and Josh Edgerton stumbles.
But you're right, he follows through and has to turn around. I wonder what if you turn around, if you lose sight of it, but to stumble, and after that, of course, the game was over. I don't know if that's worthy of dumping water and being surrounded by your teammates, but I guess it was.
Well, a win's a win. So Edgerton faced the 3 left-hand hitters. Now Stefano Romero is due up. So Daisuke Matsuzaka will come in to face the right-hand batter. 4-1 Mariners, bottom of the 7th. Coming right back. John East.
Yeah, this will be his 18th game in relief. In relief, he's 1-0 CRAs in the 2, so he's pitched better in relief than he has as a starter.
Drive around the majors brought to you by Cadillac. Garrett Jones had a 2-run single in the 10th, leading the Marlins past the Braves. 3-1 despite a big strikeout night for Julio Teheran. Ian Desmond 5 for 5 with a home run. The Nationals win in Colorado 7-2. Dan Uggla released by the Braves, signed by the Giants. Going to give him a minor league tryout, see whether they can salvage anything there. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Giants have done it before.
Well, you know, they did it with Marco Scutaro, and it's Scutaro who Uggla would be asked to replace if he's got anything left. Here's Stephen Romero, 2 for 3 tonight. Cano at second and 2 out. And Daisuke's first one is a cutter off the plate for ball 1. John Neese went 6 innings tonight in his return to action. Not his best by any means. 4 runs, 11 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, a wild pitch, a home run. Josh Edgin faced 3 batters, retired 2, and gave up the double to Cano. And now Matsuzaka. Time for your AT&T fan photo of the night, or morning, as you will. Oh, that's a sweet ride. Look at that.
Boy.
With Mr. Met right on the hood. Wow.
What kind of style vehicle is that?
That's true to the orange and blue right there. See if it stays in play. Campbell watches it. Plenty of room. And he's got it to end the inning. So Daisuke gets the final out of the bottom of the 7th. On to the 8th now. 4-1 Seattle. Himself is in the game, and he's playing right field for defense, and it's hit out his way. Eric Campbell deep to right, and Andy back on the warning track to grab it. Just in the game and utilized for his glove. 1 pitch and 1 out at the top of the 8th.
Well, you're gonna have to pick on someone else if you want to drive a ball to right field. And he makes it look easy.
Always has. He'll live forever, you know.
So I'd have to say, other than being a ball player, that was the first time that I had goosebumps at the ballpark after that catch. I was sitting, I don't know what would it be called, like kind of the luxury boxes.
Press level.
Press level, yeah.
Suites down the left field line.
I was sitting down the third base line where I had a great kind of visual of it, because I saw it leave Roland's bat. And as soon as it left his bat, I go, boy, that ball's out of here. And for whatever reason, the ball and Endy were just on that right path,
Well, he timed his lead perfectly. He took off from just the right spot. He had his arm just far enough over the wall. The glove was just long enough to snatch it back. before it fell into the bullpen.
Well, remember, we always thought that Endy's glove was exceptionally long for an outfielder. Ooh, that got some camera or photographer over there in the down the dugout on the first base side.
That is a big glove. That looks like a softball, man. It really does.
It does, right?
And then he's a small guy, so it makes it look even bigger. I'm just glad to see Endy back in the big leagues. He was in the minors when the year began. Mariners had a need, called him up, and he's played really well. 36 years old now. Dudek cracks one into center field for a base hit. Well, the Mets have had a hit in every inning, but they've yet to have more than a hit in any inning. 1 out and 1 on for d'Arnaud. First, let's check in with Steve Gelbs in the studio for another game break brought to you by the New York State Smokers Quit Line. Garrett Jones has been watching Casey McGee. Figured out where those RBIs live.
McGee had his second home run in last night's game, right? Of the year.
Well, here's the way I figured it. Jordany Valdespin made his debut for the Marlins night before last. And then Casey McGee hit a home run the next day. It's got to be connected, right? Jordany must have done something. And Casey got angry.
That's right.
And hit one over the wall. Travis d'Arnaud hit one over the wall his last time up, and Dustin Ackley brought it back. Travis got a very small measure of revenge when he threw Ackley out stealing.
That's small is the right word.
That's a sliver. d'Arnaud had base hits in his other 2 at bats. One of them a pop fly single, the other a hard hit to right. And he foul tips that one, and it's 1-2.
The ball right by him. Big swing there by d'Arnaud.
See if he cuts it down now with 2 strikes. He has been doing that. Brandon Moorer, who got the final out in the 7th, working here in the 8th.
And Moorer throws really well. 96 miles an hour on that fastball. They've got a lot of hard throwers in that bullpen.
It's one of the best bullpens in baseball. One of the reasons why the Mariners have fared as well as they have. Tonight, I would assume they'll have Danny Farquhar closing, with Fernando Rodney apparently not available. 1-2. Slider, strike 3 call. Backup slider, it looked like, to get d'Arnaud 2 out.
Yeah, it's one of those pitches that's not a good pitch. It's not what the pitcher's trying to do. Just a spinner that stays on the inside corner. And he gets the call from Eddings.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by your Tri-State Cadillac dealer. Visit CadillacTristate.com to search local offers and find a local dealer near you. By Citi Cards can get you in on the action and closer to the game with access to special benefits at Citi Field this season. Visit Mets.com/Citi to learn more. Danny Farquhar, as noted, up on the bullpen for the Mariners. Chris Young takes a strike, and it's 0-2. Chris had a broken bat single that fell into right field his last time up. 1 for 2 on the night. Duda at first and 2 out. 0-2 coming to Young. Takes it low and away. New York Mets baseball on SNY is also brought to you by Honda. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda now at your Honda dealer. Anybody else? Breaking ball hit toward the middle. Cano can't make the backhand, then recovers and throws him out. Well, it went off the heel of his glove, but it came right back to him. And Cano able to make the play on Chris Young and get the Mariners through the top of the 8th. 4-1 Seattle. this last ground ball appeared to come up lame.
Well, I was surprised that Cano, even with the bobble, was able to come up with this play. But you can see coming out of the box, he's trying to step on it, but really there was nothing there.
Yeah, that first or second step out of the box, something appeared to happen. And so Young is out of the game. Kirk Neuenheis will go into left field. Daisuke Matsuzaka, who got the final out of the 7th, stays on for the 8th to face Justin Smoke and throws a curveball for a strike. Smoke has grounded out twice and drawn a walk 0 for 2. The Mets 1 run and 8 hits. The Mets have had exactly 1 hit in each of the 8 innings.
I don't think I've ever seen this before.
And they've left at least 1 on base in every inning. 9 total. To Smoke with Corey Hart on deck, and then Dustin Ackley for the Mariners. Mariners have lost 6 of 9 after getting to their high water mark for the year. They're now 9 games behind Oakland, which is as far out as they've been all season. However, they are sitting in the 2nd wild card spot. The Angels are 7.5 games clear of Seattle in the 1st wild card spot. Then come the Mariners. And starting the night, the Yankees and Toronto were both a game and a half back, but they both lost. Cleveland was 2 back. They lost as well. And it's a strike, 3-2. So Seattle's in a pretty good spot. But again, they're going to have to find a little more offense if they're going to go the distance.
And like most teams down the stretch, they're going to have a lot of games against Oakland and Los Angeles Angels. So
not necessarily a good thing.
That's not a good thing.
No, I mean, the likelihood is they're not going to win the division. But they've got to hold off all those teams in the wild card. Murphy backs off and throws out Smoke for the first out. Second game of the series tomorrow night. 10 o'clock start New York time. Our coverage begins at 9 o'clock. Right here on SNY. Jacob deGrom, first start out of the All-Star break. Erasmo Ramirez back from the minor leagues to make a start for the Mariners. Erasmo Ramirez, who after he made his last start for Seattle, his manager Lloyd McClendon said he never gave us a chance. Lloyd can be tough publicly on his players. You know, Terry Collins is a wonderful advocate for his players with the media, almost never says anything negative about a player. Lloyd is a little different.
He's got a little edge to him. Absolutely. Well, you know who he learned from? Mr. Leland,
right,
who is not afraid to say whatever he felt.
There is no messing around with Lloyd McClendon.
And I say that with all affection. Jim Leland's one of my favorite people that has ever worn a manager's uniform.
There's Howard Johnson, the hitting coach for the Mariners.
Well, the Sheik with some glasses now. Very interesting.
Good that Howard is in the building on the occasion of David Wright's 10-year anniversary, because Howard Johnson was the man that David called his baseball father. Nurtured him as a hitting coach in the minor leagues. Also as hitting coach in the big leagues for a long stretch of time. Corey Hart will try to not hit it to Ruben Tejada, who's robbed him of 2 hits tonight. And he doesn't. He hits it down the left field line. He's got himself an extra base hit. Lessons learned. Corey Hart's 7th double of the year comes with 1 out in the bottom of the 8th.
Trying to come inside, Matsuzaka lefts it right over the middle of the plate. Ringing double to left field.
And Brett Miller will run for Hart at second base. Miller, the regular shortstop for the Mariners, left-hand batter, so he got the night off tonight against John Neese. So he'll be in that DH spot as Hart comes out. You use your personnel differently in the American League, don't you?
Yeah, you really do.
Dustin Ackley is 2 for 3 tonight. He has had himself a memorable night, not just the 2 hits, but the home run robbing catch he made against Travis d'Arnaud. And he takes a strike.
No, it's interesting.
The mask of Darno.
Sorry, Gary. Here's the catch you were talking about before off Travis. I thought he got all of this, but he didn't. And Ackley got to the wall and just made a fantastic catch, robbing Darno of a home run.
If you're able to go online, Google Chase Darno's catch, because it's. I mean, it was last night, and Travis's brother made a catch that looked just like that.
Eerily the same, right?
Minor league game. Came crashing down to the warning track after robbing a home run, the whole thing.
I think most people agree that judging a college pitcher, how well he does in college and how well he's going to do in the pros, can be very difficult at times. I find some of the same things with college hitters that have hit at such a high level like Ackley did, and you just figured that he'd come in here and be a 300 hitter. That's not been the case.
I think it may be more true of college hitters. And, the Mets just drafted the guy who was considered the best college hitter closest to the big leagues in Michael Conforto, and he might make a rapid rise and have a great big league career, but there are just no guarantees.
Well, one, the wooden bat is a big change for a lot of the hitters, and that ability of big league pitchers to spin the baseball when they're behind in the count is always the true test for any hitter coming up. Can he hit a breaking ball?
I asked the Mets scouting director Tommy Tanis about the wood bat thing. He said it's less of an issue than it used to be now that they use the composite bats. Plus, almost every big-time college player plays in a wood bat league in the summertime or in international play.
The Cape Cod League, which I played in, has gone to the wooden bat for years now.
I mean, the college game has changed so much the last few years. That's down the left field line, and Ackley's got himself another hit. Miller will come on home. Nieuwenhuis's throw goes to second, and Ackley's safe with an RBI double. His third hit of the night makes it 5-1 Seattle.
Well, not a pretty swing, kind of like a boat oar. He places that ball to left field and keeps it fair. Nice job by Nieuwenhuis to get to it and make a play at second base that was very close. But Ackley showed a lot more speed than I'm seeing defensively there, offensively.
Nieuwenhuis did such a great job throwing the baseball from the left field line. And a great assist in San Diego throwing out Alexi Amarista. And he almost got Ackley there. 14 hits now for Seattle. Ackley has 3 of them. Mike Zunino has the longest one. He's at the plate now, and he fouls back the curveball. Zunino hit one on the second deck in left field in the third inning, his 14th of the year. That put the Mariners in front 2-1, and they have not looked back. Meanwhile, the Mets on offensive brownout for the 3rd straight day. Fastball strike to Zunino, 0-2. Willie Bloomquist on deck. He's had a big night. Ackley at second and 1 out. And a breaking ball, strike 3 called. Zunino caught looking. 3rd time that Zunino has been struck out tonight.
Well, it's kind of a composite of his entire year, hasn't it? Zunino with a home run and 3 strikeouts. That's that indoor curveball.
Let's answer your Verizon trivia question. Winning pitcher in David Wright's major league debut 10 years ago tonight, Orber Moreno, whom the Mets got in a deal with Kansas City, I believe. He was a Met only briefly. Orber Moreno. That's an outstanding question. If you got that one without looking it up, you get 50 points in Battle of the Broadcast.
No, you get an invite for next year.
See, that's got to be the next step in that show, right?
Well,
has to be the radio guys versus fans, or the TV guys versus fans.
That would be fantastic.
Wouldn't that be great?
Slight issue.
which is getting Keith to show up.
I'm going to put myself in that boat too. I don't know, Gary.
Now you were dominant though.
No, but I was very nervous. I didn't want to miss too many. I mean, I missed one right at the beginning. Instead of Jay Payton, I said Gary Payton.
At least you didn't miss Marty Barrett.
I went with the glove when I needed to go with the outfielder.
And they say Bloomquist run around. Wow, that's a tough one right there. A couple of strikeouts for Matsuzaka, and all Bloomquist can do is laugh at that call. 5-1 going to the ninth. The Mets have failed to score more than one run. They have 8 hits, but they've spread them out. Now Danny Farquhar will try and put on the finishing touches for Seattle.
Well, it's only his 40th game. Only has 1 save this season. He's been a mainstay, though, out there and getting the ball to Rodney, who's 27 to 30 in save chances.
Danny Farquhar from the University of Louisiana Lafayette. Juan Lagares leads off in the 9th and takes a strike. And that's what Farquhar is going to feature. Cutter after cutter after cutter. The Mets have 8 hits. The Mariners have 14. There have been a lot of runners left stranded tonight. The Mets have left 9. Lagares has gone 0 for 3. Ruben Tejada is on deck. Curtis Granderson behind him. Each team has left 9 runners on base tonight. So the Mets, after winning 8 of 9, in danger of their 3rd straight loss. And the curveball fouled at the plate.
Well, that was a hanging curveball there, missed by Lagares. He fouls it into his body.
Curve bounces, and it's 1-2. Roenis Elias started this game for Seattle. Had to leave the game with a cramp in his forearm in the 6th inning. He went 5 1/3, 1 run, 5 hits, 8 strikeouts, and the Mariner bullpen has picked it up from there for Lloyd McClendon. They've been spotless. Dominic Leone, Charlie Furbush, Brandon Moore, and now Farquhar trying to finish up. Now, let me just make sure I get this right.
Yeah.
Farquhar is F-A-R-Q-U-H.
Yes.
A-R.
A-R.
Now, usually there's a vowel after the Q-U.
That's right.
Little bloop into shallow right, and Andy Chavez will have to play it on a hop. And Lagares has himself a base hit.
Well, the Mets are pretty good at getting a base hit. See if they can get a couple of them this inning. Jammed a little bit and dumped into right field by Juan Lagares.
Well, after being held hitless last night or yesterday for 7 2/3, the Mets have not been held hitless in any inning in this game. And yet they have only 1 run. Here's Tejada, who has one of the Mets' 9 hits. The Met fans getting a "Let's Go Mets" chant going. Tejada 1 for 2 and a walk. Takes the cutter off the plate. I wonder what it would take in this 9th inning for Lloyd McClendon to make Fernando Rodney available. Rodney on Saturday in the 12th inning game threw 15 pitches, and then last night he threw 32 more. Coming up after the postgame, Steve Gelbs wants you to stay up after the game in Seattle. Talk a little football. There's Fernando Rodney with the cap askew in his style. That's a high strike to Tejada. That's a pivotal pitch in that at bat. It makes it 1-2.
Well, I guess I can just say one thing. If I were pitching, I would love Doug Eddings to be behind the plate. He's very aggressive.
He's umpired like he's double parked. Curveball, strike 3 call. Frustrating at bat for Ruben Tejada, and he goes away unhappy.
It's another one of those breaking balls that doesn't really break and stays on the inside part of the plate. That's not a strike.
Well, that's 11 strikeouts for Mariners pitching tonight. 1 out and 1 on in the 9th, and now Granderson has gone 0 for 4. 3 strikeouts and a fly ball to the warning track and right. So Curtis will be trying to avoid the dreaded golden sombrero. Smoke playing behind Lagares at first. Curtis takes a legitimate strike. Danny Murphy on deck. Seven-year-old Danny Farquhar on the mound for Seattle. And he gets ahead on Granderson, 1-2.
Well, that's a good breaking ball here. Well, take that back. That was his changeup to Granderson.
One, 2. Fly ball foul. And out of play. With everybody else, Curtis's bat has slowed down over the last few days. Hitless in his last 8 at bats. Takes it in the dirt. Zunino locates it behind his right foot. 2-2.
Well, so the people I've talked to about Zunino, they say that it's a real bright kid. He gets it as far as calling a game. We've seen his talent as far as blocking the baseball all night long. And they said that he has a quiet toughness.
Granderson down on strikes. Curtis is saddled with the dreaded golden sombrero.
Comes back with that good breaking ball down and in. They wanted it away, but it beat Granderson in.
So the Mets are down to their final out of the night. Daniel Murphy will try and keep them alive. Murphy is 1 for 4, a pop fly single back in the first. And he takes a cutter for a strike. Wright on the 10-year anniversary of his debut, hoping for another turn. Kicking away from Zunino, and down to second goes Lagares. It'll be a wild pitch charge to Farquhar.
First one missed as it runs up the arm of Zunino.
One run to Murphy. Going in. 2-1. Broken back. Cano has it skip off him. Lagares is going to come in to score. And now it's a 5-2 game. A broken back. Cano trying to play the short hop, and it skipped away.
Well, he got in front of it and tried to block it with his body, but it just ran up his glove hand and his arm and carried him away. Good hustle by Lagares, who's, you know what, he never takes any time off. Running around third, picks up the baseball, scores on his own.
It'll be an error charge to Cano, no RBI. So the Mariners unable to secure the 27th out, and now the Mets need just one more base runner to get the tying run to the plate. David Wright is 2 for 4 tonight. David drove in the only Met run with an opposite field single in the third. They need a hard shot into left field in the fifth. Aaron Campbell would be next. An unearned run home here in the ninth. And Wright flies one down the right field side. That'll go out of play. 1-1. In Anaheim, Adam Jones is at 2 home runs tonight. Baltimore leads the Angels 4-2 in the ninth. Two hot teams. Fastball beats him. 1-2. One of the few fastballs we've seen from Farquhar.
A little late by David.
Now the Mets are down to their final strike. And the curveball bounced foul. Is Farquhar coming very close to not stopping?
Yeah, he doesn't stop, in fact.
We've already seen one balk called on a Mariners pitcher tonight. Bobby Abreu on deck to bat for Campbell now. 1-2 coming. Murphy runs. Wright pops it up. This heads toward the stands. Zunino to the railing and runs out of room. And by that margin, the Mets are still alive.
It was so interesting. That ball, if Zunino was going to catch it, the players that are on the top step got to get out of the way. They stayed right in the way. Rock pile.
1-2. Curveball, blooped, shallow right center. On comes Jones, and he makes the running grab, and that ends the ball game. Farquhar finishes it off. The Mariners take the opening game of the series. Huge night for Dustin Ackley with 3 hits and a home run robbing catch. And Seattle hands the Mets their 3rd straight loss, 5-2.
Well, usually you say when you get 9 hits in a ball game that it was a good offensive output. Not the case for the Mets, who are still on brownout with their offense the last 3 ball games. Boyd McClellan gets a big win for the Mariners.
So after Seattle lost a grueling series to the Angels, they take the opener from the Mets. Game summary brought to you by your local Acura dealer. John Neese struggled in his first start back from the disabled list. First time in 22 starts. He'd given up more than 3 earned runs. He takes the loss. Roenis Elias, despite the forearm cramp that knocked him out of the game in the 6th, struck out 8, got the win. Dustin Ackley and Willie Bloomquist each with 3 hits for the Mariners and a home run robbing catch for Ackley.